Now, one of the concerning things that I'm seeing happen all across the country is we're seeing a bunch of factories and plants close. Now, many of these companies I've never heard of, but in many instances, they employ about 100 to 200 people. And these aren't big enough numbers that would make the nightly news. But 3 or 4 plant closures closing every day here and there, it all adds up to more people being out of work. And my suspicion is when these places close up, they're probably moving to Mexico or somewhere outside of the US. And in many cases, these small factories, employees have been there for years, decades. And when these places close up, it's a punch in the gut to a lot of these small towns. And it's a punch in the gut to some of the workers, because a lot of times these workers are usually middle-aged or older. And it's going to be almost impossible getting a job that pays nearly the same as the job that you're getting kicked out of. Now, a severance, yeah, some of these guys, they get a severance, and that's nice. But that money eventually runs out. And then if you're in one of these small towns, you're just staring around, looking at trees, looking at fields, wondering what you're going to do to bring in the dough. And in some cases, you're going to probably have to travel 60, 70 miles in order to get a job, because in some of these places, when these plants close, there's nothing else around. And so right now, the U.S. is being quietly decimated. And to add fuel to the fire, we're seeing a ton of hospital closures throughout the U.S., and many of them are in rural areas. So imagine you're in a town where 1 or 2 plants have closed in the last decade, and now the hospital's closing. I mean, after that, you're pretty much done, unless some type of new entity moves in. And yeah, I mean, that's not going to happen. I mean, that's far-fetched here in the U.S. now. Most places, most companies are getting stuff manufactured outside of the U.S. And so what you're having all across, what's happening all across America is you're having towns that are dying. And this happened a lot during the 70s in a lot of black communities. A lot of factories closed up in the inner cities and moved away. And basically what you were stuck with were service jobs. And that's what's happening in many of these small towns now, where the only jobs left are working at Walmart, working at some fast food burger place. And those jobs, they're not going to bring in enough to sustain a household. I mean, you can bring your living expenses way down, but you're pretty much going to be stuck. And that's kind of what I'm seeing happen all across the U.S. And when something like that happens, like I said, you have to travel further to work. What happens when gas prices go up? You're going to be punched from both sides. And that's another fear I'm feeling, because we're seeing all of these layoffs now. We're seeing these plant closures, these factory closures. And if we end up having inflation on top of that, you're going to have a ton of people on the streets. And I'm not talking about 1,000 people here. I'm talking about you're going to have millions of homeless people in America. And already the number of homeless people in America is undercounted by probably 10 or 20 times. But you're going to see an absolute crisis. Now, it doesn't matter who's in the White House. The collapse has already begun. The ship has already hit the iceberg. There's a hole in the side. It doesn't matter who becomes the captain. The hole is still there. We're still taking on water, and we're going to eventually sink. So it doesn't matter who's at the helm. America is going down. Now, if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.